Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath.
The podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina Grenville.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Sconard.
Hello, Diana.
Hey, Polina. What's going on?
Not much.
Okay. How's your memory?
It's probably closer to Goldie Hawn's than Kurt Russell's.
I don't know what that means.
I have a terrible memory.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I do remember who I'm married to.
Okay.
And who my podcasting partner is.
Yeah. And we were just talking about
how we couldn't be married to each other, but we travel well together.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's good.
Yeah. And we're talking about Overboard.
Yes, we are.
1987 Overboard.
Yes, to be very clear.
Because every time I looked up Overboard and then Overboard movie, I'm like, okay, I guess it's a algorithm of some kind. Whatever.
Makes sense. Maybe they made a decision. Let's do that. I mean, because
I don't know if Google made a decision.
Well, not made a decision, but somewhere in the algorithm like that. That's the rule they set. Is like the last
some sort of machine learning.
This makes the top, because I don't remember that movie getting a ton of
the most recent one.
Yeah,
or the
20,
more
like
there's been
7.
There's been like international remakes and things like that. But
okay.
So
I'm not familiar with the Overboard universe, movie universe,
the extended cinematic universe. Exactly. No. See what's happening?
Extended cinematic universe.
So for the purposes of our podcast, we're talking about Overboard, 1987, from IMDb. A cruel but beautiful heiress mocks and cheats a hired carpenter. When she gets amnesia after an accident, he decides to introduce her to regular life by convincing her their husband and wife. Before I get into the nitpicks...
I have so many problems with that.
Before I get into a few of the nitpicks of that, this stars Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, Edward Herrmann, previously discussed in the Lost Boys episode of ours.
And of Gilmore. Also Katherine Helmond, was in Who's the Boss.
Well, no, I was getting there.
I'm sorry. Just saying, I'm sorry. I was so excited to see her. I just wanted more.
Well, I was going to say, no, what do you have more to say about Edward Herrmann? Oh, Katherine Helmond. I'm working on it.
You're right. I was sorry. I'm sorry. I did not give Edward Herrmann his due.
Catherine can now have her due now. Please go on.
Yeah, and then Roddy McDowall.
Roddy McDowall.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I have a note, but we'll get there about him, and I want to make sure that gets out there. I would also like to point out special shout out to Garry Marshall director, Good Luck Charm Hector Elizondo in a uncredited cameo.
So I see that now because I'm looking at the cast, and I'm like,
the second I saw him, I'm like,
I didn't see him.
You didn't see him?
No.
Oh, okay. So
where was he?
He was in the very beginning of the movie. Do you remember when they were doing the news footage of her going off the boat and they're trying to talk to her, and she pretty much you have the local station of the family.
Yeah. And then she totally she completely demoralizes the poor
on-field reporter.
Okay.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Okay. So they also interviewed the people who are on the not the garbage barge.
That was him?
That was him.
Oh my God. The Portuguese, he's a Portuguese, and he's like, I sing for love, and he wanted to sing. Oh my God. Because actually I loved that character. It was like a delightful moment.
Well, I had to go, I'm like, okay, he's not in here. Is he uncredited? Yes, he's uncredited. Because I was distracted when the credits were going. But I had to look back. He and Garry Marshall, they've done 18 movies together in one way or another. Because Pretty Woman, he's there, and let's see, but basically any Garry Marshall movie you can think of, he's in there somewhere. So now I need to go back to a couple of movies, but I have to remember, I'm pretty sure it's the movies that he's directed, not the movies that he's in, because I was thinking about the Drew Barrymore movie Never Been Kissed. I'm like, is Hector Elizondo in Never Been Kissed? Maybe.
He might be. I missed him in this, but that character was fantastic. Now I'm like, of course it was Hector Elizondo.
It's not like I don't have a computer in my hand to figure this out, but now is not the time.
But we are in 1987, where one did not have a computer in one's hands.
Right when the music started, when I was rewatching this for the first time in many, many, many years. Mm-hmm. This music is in my bones. Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody, but that's the music of this thing. Yeah. Just the score of it, I'm like, I know this music so well. And they're trying to give it a hillbilly flavor. It's Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon is woodsy and beautiful. Is there a hillbilly Oregon?
Kind of.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about hillbilly. I don't know how you define hillbilly, and I feel a little uncomfortable talking about defining hillbilly. But there's definitely a working class.
Well, she definitely calls him that.
Vibe. And
did they say hick? She
does definitely say hick of some kind.
Okay, she definitely does throw out
She insults a lot, so I can't keep track.
She insults everybody. She insults the caviar. She insults the person who brings the caviar.
That was actually one of my favorite lines. She's like, I almost had to wait. I wrote that down. Actually, the actual line. I'm trying to be better.
When I told my coworker we were doing this movie, I told her I had to explain. Okay, first of all, she's 10 plus years younger than me. So instead of telling her about this, I said, "Have you seen The Devil Wears Prada?" She's like, huh? I'm like, well, imagine another character like that, because we were talking about one of our impossible clients. And so what's kind of strange, it's just like, movies like Overboard and The Devil Wears Prada, those people don't really exist. They're made exaggerated for comedic effect. And then we looked at each other thinking about the client, and we're like, no, turns out these people are real.
Yeah. Well, I think there's definitely people who like to take out their frustrations on people who are not allowed, like who
can't fight back.
No
recourse.
Yeah.
And
they have control over. It's like those people who are like mean to wait staff.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Those are like the worst people in the world.
This is exactly it, though. Kurt Russell is the quote unquote wait staff, and in this particular instance, that's why I think I looked at this as a kind of a revenge movie and not a romantic movie.
Oh yeah.
So, but the thing is, like, I'm now torn, of course, because when I
cannot wait to talk to you about this.
I'm not okay. Fine.
Like about these very questions.
Well, then why not? I won't even like get into too much. I will state though, like based off of my notes and such. Did you ever watch Who's the Boss?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I love Katherine Helmond. I did watch Who's the Boss.
Excellent. Okay. And then this was actually a box office flop.
Yes.
When it came out. And then it kind of grew like a cult status. And I realized, that's what happens. You flop at the box office, you get really cheap licensing rights, they run it on cable. And, they run on basic cable. That's what happens. You have me growing up watching this on TBS, watching this edited, which means that a lot of these parts were not part of my knowledge. Not part of my knowledge. In addition, last part, and then I'll let you get to your questions. No. In addition, I believe whenever I would see it on TV and start watching it, it would be right about the bowling alley scene. So, like, she's already fallen off the boat. I didn't really know her as that evil, so I only knew her as half evil, but in the funny clothes.
Wait, in the funny clothes that she wears when she's like, as she's trying to adjust to her new life.
Correct.
Her it was really clothes, of course, at the beginning are so over the top, ridiculously 80s that she's like, it's very clear that she's a character, when she's kidnapped. It's like you see her they basically buy her a bunch of clothes, but they don't fit. Right? The kids are just like supposed to buy her clothes, and they buy things that are too big.
You just said buy clothes.
Yeah. And like thrift store clothes, like dresses, and they don't fit. So then you see her like taking his shirts and making them kind of cute, or like at one point, like this was a big thing in the 80s, but she's wearing this skirt, which is basically like a jean top, and then
the pink frill at the bottom,
and then a pink frill at the bottom, which was like an actual thing I think I owned.
Okay.
Like it was an actual dress, but I realized, I was like, God, that looks crazy. Then I remembered like this was 1987 and this stuff actually happened. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Like, oh, she probably like kind of remembered as that and then made it. Like she found an old pair of jeans that was ripped, right, and then made, cut, like that was the idea. I mean, I don't think Goldie Hawn actually did this, but
the character of Annie.
The character of Annie.
Do you think she managed to fashion together?
Like actual clothes. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, like that the wardrobe choices were actually like very well thought out, because I thought they were amazing at the beginning, and I didn't think to I basically worry about that level of detail for later.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you. So I've never seen this movie. I think you mentioned last time, you're like, oh, it's kind of in your wheelhouse. And I think you meant like, oh, it came out at an age where you were going to a lot of movies. Like I picked a lot of movies from this time, certainly. From 87, 85, 89, 88.
Well, I mean, any movie that came out in a certain realm of time that was also put on cable a lot. That's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. But it would have never occurred to me to see this movie. Mm-hmm. And I never saw it, even on TV. I don't know how.
Okay.
So this was my first experience. Yeah, I was totally aware of its existence. This kind of seems to have become a bit of like a cult favorite.
Uh-huh. The Wikipedia article said so.
And Oprah Magazine rated this the best Goldie Hawn movie.
Oh, I don't know if I can agree with that.
I don't know either, but
I'm a huge fan of The First Wives Club and Death Becomes Her.
That's what I'm wondering. I remember seeing The First Wives Club, like, on a plane, and now it makes me want to rewatch it. Like, it makes, like, basically this movie makes me want to watch a lot of Goldie Hawn movies.
Okay, so my Goldie Hawn experience, like, here's something that was just kind of weird because I don't have a lot of Kate Hudson experience either.
Oh, really? I do, yeah.
But one of the something that was a reaction to Kurt Russell said. Sorry, Dean Prophet. Mm-hmm. Dean Prophet. Yeah. I, for some reason, I want to call him something else, but no. but his character, he says something and she stares at him in a way I cannot describe. But I'm like, Kate Hudson does that stare. It was really weird.
So I have been watching Lodge 49.
Okay.
And their son is one of the main characters.
Wyatt Russell?
Yes.
Okay.
And
because I want to say he's in The Boys too. Keep talking.
I think he is, but I never really, or I've never noticed him. He's in some movies. He's in a bunch of movies I haven't seen, or I just didn't notice him. I don't know. But I've been watching Lodge 49, and I'm like, and watching the two of them together after having been watching a lot of Wyatt Russell for the past week, I was like, oh, wow, he really is like a perfect combo of the two of them.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, was he also in a Hunger Game of some kind?
I have no idea. This is when you know.
Okay, so when we get into generations of actors, like if we start talking about Coppola's, I'm pretty competent, but when we start talking about like the Kate Hudsons and the Russells and all that, I'm not as good because they're not like in my face.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I didn't really even, he was not on my radar at all. Okay. But it was just really weird having watched so much of him, in the past week or so, and then suddenly seeing them. Anyway, not important. But Lodge 49 is very weird and very, very good.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. But Goldie Hawn is... I really wish I had... usually I try to watch movies twice, and I didn't watch this movie twice.
You watched it once.
I watched it once.
At least once.
At least once.
Thank God.
And I think that if I watched it a second time, I think I would enjoy it more because I'd sort of be able to let go of the idea, like some of...
I have to apologize.
Sort of ideas of it.
I'm sorry. I have to apologize right now because this is going to bother me. Yeah. I mistook the Russell with a Quaid. So it turns out the Hunger Games guy, he's a Quaid.
He's a Quaid.
He's a Quaid. See, I can't do that multi-generation. Please start over.
I for some reason have become one of those people who's like, a lot of actors now I just don't even know. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
You were saying.
The point is, like the premise is... I know is ridiculous, but I kept wanting this to be like, I was like, oh, this is, I knew how it was going to end. Like I was assuming it was going to end with like, oh, she's going to, they're going to find love and whatever. Okay. But I sort of royally wanted it. I still kind of held on for a long time to having this be like where she turns the tables on him. Oh, okay. And then they still get together.
Oh, okay.
But there's this like, there isn't a,
so her turning the hose on him wasn't turning the tables enough?
No, but she starts messing, because he's gaslighting her, right?
Yep, that's a word.
And then she's going to start gaslighting him.
How so?
I don't know.
Oh, so you're making this like...
I'm saying that's what
That's what you want.
I couldn't quite relax because I knew that's what it wasn't going to go to. And that's why I think the second time, I think I would enjoy the gags a lot more.
Okay.
Like, I just kind of ease in. Like, I'm like, okay, I know what happens. I can accept. Mm-hmm. But Goldie Hawn... this movie would be unwatchable if it wasn't for her. She is so dead on, perfectly funny. You buy every choice she makes, even though they're insane. you buy it. Like, I don't know how she makes you buy it. Like even Sean was like, I'm just going to watch this for 10 minutes. And then he's like, 2 hours later, he's like, I've got to, it just, it's like, you can't, you're like this, but this is bonkers. It's bonkers.
Well, of course it's bonkers, but is it bonkers entertaining?
She's bonkers entertaining.
Okay.
But like the sort of the idea, like sort of, it's difficult to get over the premise. But so that's why actually but then I started thinking what it would be like to watch this as a kid, where that sort of, the sort of intensity of that is not you may not be aware of it, or like it may not capture you. And as you said, you didn't see the
absolute illegality, moral implications, the fact that, okay, as I was watching this, I should have taken account how many times I went, whereas Ryan watched this with me too, and of course he's on board with what I was saying as well. I'm like, so what'd you think? He's like, it had its moments, and I'm like, it was. I laughed more than I thought I would.
And the thing is, I mean, and actually, like Sean was saying, like
between the grunts,
he's like, I really wish, like there is that moment. I mean, I was thinking it, but I was thinking about it, but like, yeah, it's like you're kind of, there is, that it's not going to go that way, but wouldn't it have been awesome if it came like this super, kind of a darker comedy, and they still ended up together because they so clearly are supposed to be together.
Well, like, their real life.
That's what I mean. You get it.
Explodes.
You're just, the minute you see them both in like on screen together, you're like, even though they're not physically touching, you're like these two are perfect together.
Second viewing, like adult viewing on this. Yeah. Clearly not second viewing in life, but like adult, like decades later viewing on this. What I actually seem to feel from her performance second time around is that she isn't as attached to him so much as she wants the kids.
She's so in love with
She's so in love with those kids. Yeah. And it just being part of their lives and watching their lives blossom because of her.
Well, and the thing is, she is bored. Like, it's just, like, he goes on this rampage at some point. She loses his temper early on, and this is what causes her to sabotage him. Or not, well, to...
I was going to say, wait, what movie did you watch?
So he goes on this rampage where basically he's like, you're so bored. He screams a lot of things at her. And the thing is, it's very true. Like, when she goes back to her life, like, she is... So this
She's calling her mom all sad. He called me a bitch, and he said I'm this and that. And what's even better, and again...
Because it's true.
Well, after he made that entire speech to her, you had the rest of the staff clapping.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yes. Like, they would. But, And then of course she destroys like this,
his livelihood,
everything about it. Like, not just, she doesn't just, it's not enough for her. First off, she's, pushing him into water, which is dangerous. It's Oregon. It's cold.
Well,
it's not like, you're not in the Caribbean where it's like, but
it's also, I'm a brat. And her thing is like, you mess this up, I'm not paying you. So she already has the upper hand in this whole thing. Yeah. Which is horrific.
Got the money, yeah. But anyway, I think, and like she, like, I think it's the kids, but also she has fixed a lot of things that are broken in their lives. She's helped them, and that must feel so, it's like.
She's bound them as a family rather than just kind of a functioning group.
Yep.
There is structure. There is discipline. Oh, good Lord, the principal.
My God, that school. So she walks into school.
Yeah. So there's this. Oh my God, have spoken nothing of this premise. Okay. So okay. Oh.
So so both of us found the premise, like these sort of kidnapping.
The first thing out of his best friend's mouth as he sees her on TV, and he's like, I have an idea. First thing, it's illegal, Dean.
Well, and it's the revenge thing. It's the fact that he's doing it to, like, and he, like, at one point, he literally calls her his slave.
Yes, he does.
I mean, not to her face, but...
Yes, in a happy boys moment,
like, I am a fucking genius.
Yes. Yes. And he actually does the math on it too. $25 a day. She owes me $600. She'll have this paid off in. And I'm just like, okay. And but what's even worse is that as the movie progresses and he's really starting to like her as a person, he's actually justifying by saying, I got to tell the truth. First it started as a goof. And I'm like, no, not a goof. No, this was not a goof.
No, a goof a goof is very different.
A goof is
I'm trying to like figure out what
I'm trying to like pull the what I enjoyed out of this and separate it from the stuff.
Well, that's why I just want to get that out. Like, yeah. So anyway, but I really, but as a kid, so how was it different the first time you saw it as an adult and then the second time you saw it as an adult?
What's funny is that as a kid, it wasn't like just like the romance. It was just like watching somebody realize that them being spoiled and this part of living like that and watching them turn around and start being a better person. I think that's where I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
That's the part where I'm just like, God, these people are so messed up with the way they treat people. And then they see what it's like to get on the other side of life. And then she's just like, no, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And she decides to run off to be part of the people who are compassionate and wonderful. And it turns out she has the money anyways. So it's not like she really like ran away from anything. It's just like, I love that. It's like, I can't believe you gave up all the money for me. I didn't.
Well, and that's actually like also kind of that knowledge is not like when maybe like when you're an adult, like, or okay, I watched it knowing that they were going to get the money in the end somehow.
Oh, I see.
Right. And so that pleasure sort of does get spoiled a little bit.
Well, again,
but as when you're a kid, I think you're like taking it much more at face value that you don't know.
Well, no,
so it becomes like a joyous
that
thing.
Money part of it. I don't even think it really factored it in when I was watching it so much. It's just like she wasn't saying goodbye to the money. She was just going back to where she wanted to be.
Yes.
And she was doing perfectly fine. Again, I came in after like the bowling alley scene where he sees her on the TV, so I didn't know how she really lived in the rich life, so I'm only used to her living there.
Yeah.
So it's its own strange thing. Also, I didn't realize how messed up her husband was.
The fact that he sees her and he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who you are. So it's like, so it's funny. So it's like Kurt Russell, a bad guy in this movie. He is a villain of sorts in this movie. Edward Herrmann's character, a bad guy, a villain of this movie. Roddy McDowall is the true hero of this movie.
Yes.
He is the true hero of this movie. He has a monologue where she actually, she is the hero of this movie. And the fact that she needed somebody to help her get to a moment where she's, next. But, watching her performance in this.
He's like the spine.
I don't know about the spine, but no, he's the...
Oh, because he's not there later. Yeah, okay.
He's like that. Well, he also kicks what's his nose over the... Yeah. and he turns in his notice. I love him. He's not... He's an executive producer too, and he's barely in this movie, but what's really funny about it...
when he is, it's so good.
It's...
Like the way he deals with the
facial expressions, the way he, hops up. But he also recognizes her. This is not like, oh, she's different, but he recognizes the true change in her, because when they've spent the time there and she actually gives him they do tequila shots together.
Yeah, she teaches everyone to do like tequila training wheel thing where you have like the
that's
salt
a thing?
and the...
That's a whole thing.
Oh, when you do, it's called
that's
like a, well, okay.
Is it called the training wheel?
No. No, when I used to work in a bar, and when people would want tequila shots with lime and salt, which is like a pretty common thing.
Right.
We would say, oh yeah, I'm gonna I'll have the, whatever shot of Cuervo with training wheels.
Oh, is that how people learn to take it down because they can't do it straight up?
I guess in theory, yeah. Because but it's pretty common that you would, like in Russia, like there's a lot of like there's some like ritualized drinking where you always have a bite of food after you have a shot.
Okay. Well, that sounds like me and spicy things. in general.
Anyway, but I'm just saying, like, but it's funny. So they're down there and she's teaching them. She's like, okay, so you put the salt on your hand. Mm-hmm. You put the salt on your the inside of your hand.
Well, we're getting into the details that are irrelevant. Yeah. The point is that she's doing this whole thing with the staff. They're joking and laughing, and he gives her back these earrings, and she's like, oh, like, what are these? Because it's like, she's like, and then he immediately does an impression of her. Like, wholeheartedly impression. So like, I lost these somewhere between 64th and 68th. Find them. Mm-hmm. And so he knows that there's something real going on in her transformation, because he does that, like, with no fear. And she looks at him right in the eye, and she gives him...
And she sees exactly what he's doing.
And she gives him this most heartfelt apology. And he's stunned. And then he tells her, she's like, do you think what they're saying about me is true? And he tells her, you've had this opportunity to see how the other half lives,
Actually, I think what he says, which is more interesting than seeing how the other half lives. Yeah, but, or rather how I remember what he was saying was that
I have it.
You get, okay.
Everyone thinks I'm crazy around here. Do you think they're right? Oh, no, madam. No. Most of us go through life with blinders on, knowing only that one little station to which we were born. But madam, but now you, madam, on the other hand, have had the rare privilege of escaping your bonds for just a spell, to see life from an entirely new perspective. How you choose to use that information is entirely up to you.
Yeah, which to me I don't think of as...
I just wanted to have him be celebrated more.
I actually am glad that because I like, my interpretation of that was not like, oh, now you know how poor people live, which I mean is kind of obnoxious thing about this movie also, but I think that, like,
that's a nice house they have for being poor people.
Yeah, it's very big.
Even if the roof does leak.
But it, like, the whole point is, I think that you're escaping all of your ideas of yourself, all of the sort of trappings of your life and your past choices, and all of the sort of the boxes and strictures that we're all taught, and also all of the obligations that you have made, rightly or wrongly. And you've been given this clean slate. And it makes it actually like it's an incredible opportunity.
Do you think 2.5 months of living a certain way can undo like 25 plus years of how life?
I have no idea.
Right.
I've never done it. But I guess my point is, but you have a vision that you have a vision of a completely different life. And he's right. What you choose to, that's such a rare opportunity.
Yeah.
That, I mean, even if she were just, I don't know, she was dropped off in another country and people much like this found her or whatever. Like, it doesn't, it's just this idea that you basically have been freed from yourself or your history for a short period of time. Which is also incredibly upsetting and disorienting.
Okay.
Has to change you. I don't know if it's 2.5 months of, I mean, I have no idea. I think people, I mean, human beings adapt very quickly. So,
right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. What other questions do you have?
So did you, it doesn't sound like you had this movie on video.
What's weird is that if I did, it was recorded off of TV.
Did you? So I can't ask you my usual question of like, what parts did you fast forward through?
Oh, you can. Well, first of all, the first half of it, because again, the recollection I have of it is watching it from bowling forward. And so let's see here.
So when you saw the beginning now as an adult, like, what was it?
I had to really pay attention because I'm like, I don't remember most of this. Like the whole birthmark thing. I don't think I knew why he knew she had one.
Yeah.
But somehow he did, which it was its own weird, upsetting thing of like.
Oh, I can imagine.
Just the.
Like, if you don't know how that happened, it would be weird.
No, I'm referring to the fact that the doctors use that as proof.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm like,
nah. Still no.
Something.
How about
something else?
How about How about the crappy like photoshopped IDs or the Photoshop photos of their past that were photoshopped.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see that I worked through. I think I just watched like a lot of the stuff going forward, and it was edited. So like,
you didn't see them have sex or
nope.
Yeah,
not really.
Which wasn't like a big.
I don't remember the.
I thought they handled that really well. There wasn't like it was
still,
lot. You know,
it was still gross though. When he said, "The first time with you always feels like the first time," or like every time with you feels like the first time. I'm like, ew.
Yeah, I kind of confused. I was like, oh.
And even like his like I have to tell her the truth stuff still felt weird. And when he does tell her the truth and everyone's just like, no, she's better with us. I'm just like,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Stop teaching your children that this is okay.
Well, yeah, this whole like thing where their children are implicated, and also like I keep thinking like their mother died.
Yeah.
And they weren't infants. It was 3 years
ago. Yeah.
So like how does that like that never really gets mentioned ever again?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that work? Like how did they process that? Like,
well, let me also point this out.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest parts that I remember about this movie
Mm-hmm.
are not when he's telling the story about Katerina and Arturo, but when they're coming together because of it.
Yeah.
The three horns blasting
Mm-hmm.
and them going after her, you know, like just them in the happy moments. Like,
Yeah.
I do remember the parts where they're barbecuing and they're coming together for the creation of the mini golf idea.
See, I loved that.
I love it when she comes up with the idea and she's just like, you know, she starts speaking French and she's like, oh my God, I speak French. I think I learned in Paris. When was I in Paris? In the Navy.
Yeah. I love it. That's the thing. Like, and it just like, she does this so well. Like she does. And it's not like you're like, okay, I really buy that it's so funny and the timing is so perfect. And yet you're like, she's like, okay, Navy.
She is accepting this. Like in the beginning, she refuses to accept it like a snob, and then she refuses.
It's not even a snob. Like she is living like a hellish life.
Well, no, in the beginning, it's the snob of just like I would not live here. This would not be what it is, and then it's just like I need proof because this doesn't feel right in my bones.
Yeah.
So like in the beginning, it's the whole like no, I like this is like when she's still in the ward in the hospital.
Exactly.
That's like the snob.
Like, you're the
And then it, you know.
But then she's like she's sleeping on this couch or like water. She has to do all these things she doesn't. Oh my God, the thing with her trying to put the duck into like a pot of water
made me sad.
When she's just like trying to deal with the duck legs. It was just that was actually perfect. Then also I felt really bad because I'm like, you know, it takes like. First off, not a really good way to cook a duck. And also
if dogs greeted me that way when I came to the house, I would be in heaven.
Yeah, I know. That
she's like,
I know.
I'm like no puppies.
I'm like, love me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know, it's gonna take like more than an hour to cook this chicken. It's gonna take a while to cook this duck, and they're just sitting there starving.
She adapted really quickly. Now, granted, she was making peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches, but
there was jelly.
She was for somebody who didn't know like how basic things operated.
Oh yeah.
She was adapting very quickly. She was doing it pretty well. And something that I thought was really amazing from the Goldie Hawn performance character standpoint, you know, you have all the gaslighting happening around her, and Kurt Russell, he's like, no, this never bothered you before. And after a couple of times, she's like, it bothers me now. And I'm like, yeah.
And he just shuts up. I know. Yeah. I'm like, that's so good.
Kind of like it, yeah. And when he gets like caught up in the lies too, she knows she doesn't push like this isn't me. She's just like, this doesn't feel right. Give me the reality. Like and even like tell me a story. Tell me a story.
I need to know something about my life.
Something good. You know, she's grasping.
Yeah.
She needs to know these nice things about her. So this is kind of interesting.
But okay, so especially when you were a kid, what about their relationship? Like was like because you picked this movie for this like, you know, what was your thinking about it when you were a kid about their relationship?
Their relationship together. I think, you know, in the younger version of it, ignoring the grossness, and I'm just gonna keep talking about it, because I don't want anyone thinking my enjoyment of this, even today, the parts that I enjoyed is overriding the fact that this is gross and this is wrong. But as the younger version of me, it was, well, these two should be together. So watching them come together, despite the fact that they're from different, I didn't know the word socioeconomic or classes at the time, but it's just they're supposed to be together. And despite the fact that, you know, her mom, her husband think that they shouldn't be together, but in the little kid version of it, it's, well, he's not good for her. He's not right for her. He's the guy who abandoned her. So of course she should be with him.
It's true.
He literally abandoned her.
He literally abandoned her. Like into a horrible fate. Like I guess without real and when you find out that it was her money,
you know what makes me,
and her boat.
Well, he goes to sea. So I'm not even sure he tells Andrew where he's going. Instead, he comes back. Andrew, she's left me. Let's celebrate. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, he's basically like absconding with her money.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, they're both pretty terrible. They both handle someone who's in a really vulnerable position, who, granted, is a complete nightmare.
Well, also, I think what's even better is that when he comes back to find her and her memory instantly comes back, she's like, no, I remember this. I remember this. I have money. I had this, and I had this money in Switzerland. He's like, Switzerland?
Yeah, I love that. It was that's when I was like, yes.
Those were like some really cool like jokes that they kind of filtered in there.
They're definitely very aware. They're self-aware. Actually, there was also an interview about, like the screenwriter said something I was reading lately that was like, yeah, I thought it was a ridiculous premise, but like they were paying me to write a movie. Well, and I feel like there are places where it's self-aware that it's ridiculous. I mean, and I really do. I think it would be actually a funny movie, and they could still get together if she started really kind of turning the tables on her, and then at some point they're like, oh wait, we're in love with each other. Let's just call a truce on this whole thing.
Then hold that thought for what happens next.
Okay. Well, yeah. Though that doesn't relate. But let's do that.
I mean, this is our podcast. We can do what we want. Can we just like retroactively stop the movie at a certain point and have you like rewrite it?
Sure. Well, no, but I still wanna. I feel like. If I rewrote every movie to any one of these movies to the movie I wanted, that would be a completely different podcast. What I would love, though, is I want to share this one little thing about their relationship, which is that I read something about Goldie Hawn recently.
You read it?
Rewatched it? Like or rather, I read that she was on she did an interview, and she said she rewatched this movie recently, and she said, oh, you know, sometimes you've been together for so long, you forget why you initially fell in love with each other. Okay. And rewatching this movie, it was a real gift because it was all right there.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Also, their son was on the set.
I know.
The aforementioned.
I know. That's what I was thinking. It was just like, it was kind of just funny that all these two things came together. Yeah. So, So, what do you think when do you think they fell in love?
Okay. So, maintaining the premise that their relationship isn't as strong as the fact that she fell in love with those kids, and she fell in love with the family unit as a whole, and he's just part of the package deal. I am going to maintain that she fully embraced, because, okay, when she fell in love, well, we also use the word gaslighting, so how much can she really trust all of that is what is happening? So I'm just going to try to
I think we kind of have to. Yeah, I think that's what I kind of had to do. It's like, that's what I'm doing in mine. Because like you just kind of have to go, okay, we've accepted this premise.
Sure.
Which is a ridiculous premise.
I mean, I could try to work around it and say it happened after she already knew the truth. And that's also part of it as well. Yeah, but complex emotions, you maintain something even though you're in part of a bad part of a relationship, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to say this is what's going to happen. So part of the whole family package deal, she fell in love with the unit. being a part of this unit and being completely connected to them. Instead of being told you are part of this family, this is your place in this family. Instead, she felt part of this family, and she had the love for this family and love for her husband. When they started wrestling in the Poison Oak. Yeah, because if you see that, it was just like, eat the thing and bring me a beer, and oh, this beer's gone flat, bring me another beer, and then she brings them the pie, and then she decides to douse them with the hose. But then it just became like back and forth. But in the end, when she decided that I'm going to play by your rules now, and she knows the kids are going to attack, so she runs, but she hides, and then she gets captured by them, and then they just start wrestling around. This is the family. She's part of this, and she's loving it.
Okay, mine. Okay, when do you think he falls in love with her?
Oh Lord, I didn't think that far ahead, because I clearly don't. I think when we don't see him buying it, but there's the part where she says that I've lost my ring. It's after she realizes she has the poison oak. She's like, I lost my ring. And so when he makes the decision to actually get her one, rather than just kind of let it fly, because if this was just a goof, as he put it, then who cares? It's going to be over soon. But you see him slip the ring on her when that thing opens up. So it's when he decided to go get her that ring.
It's a good one.
It's off screen, but it's there.
That's a good one. Okay, mine is she falls in love with him when she finds out that all of this time he's been working.
Aww.
Because basically the whole premise is that he keeps just going off at night.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying the guys.
Going out with the guys.
And so you start being like, oh, he is not pulling his weight. He's not pulling his weight.
Yeah.
Like, and he really is a slave. Or basically, the house is derelict. The children are running rampant. Like, nobody's. He's not feeding them. There's nothing is happening. And so. But you basically find out he has this horrible job working at a fertilizer plant, like scooping fish guts.
I don't care if you're hauling fish guts.
I think that so at one point, like she says, "Oh, he's out bowling," and then the kids point out that his bowling ball, and he said, "Well, why? How can you go bowling without a ball?" I mean, flaunt that logic. Ostensibly, you do not bowl anywhere but a bowling alley, which maybe you've forgotten your bowling ball. They have more.
Well,
but regardless, like you're not like, well, I'm going night fishing, and you don't take your, you take a fishing pole. So I think that when she realizes, and maybe it's not that moment, but it's like when she starts to really think through what is happening, because she's realizing that actually, and I think this is related to the fact that she also really falls in love with the kids and commits herself to trying to make their lives better. Though the minute she finds out, she doesn't even say goodbye to the kids, which is like pretty surprising, I thought, and made me very sad. But I think, like, of course, but it's like a bit of a shock.
How much betrayal?
Yeah, I mean, this is all complicated, but
they're also hiding, in the truck.
Yeah, so she was like super alone. I think she would think, oh wait, I need to explain this to the children. But so that's where I'm like, okay, the family unit thing. But I think it's realizing that actually, it's not that he doesn't care. And he's just self-involved, but actually that he is so committed to this family that he is like
working the long nights,
working, 2 jobs, and is, really, really trying to make, to create a life for his kids. And to him, it's about providing, not about caretaking. Right?
Sure.
So I think that's when she falls in love with him. I think he falls in love with her the minute that he has to, it's around the time, and I think that he realizes he has to tell her because I think you can't live, you know, it's like he's starting to have feelings for her. So living that lie is, you know, too hard. But then when he looks at her, he realizes he can't lose her.
Right.
And he kind of backs out. And then at that same moment, he's like, it's your birthday. And I want to, and it's like, this was another thing where I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh my God, this is so Stockholm syndrome-y.
And then when he does try to actually confess, everyone has just decided that no, the lie's better.
Yeah. Well, and the kids especially are like, oh my God. And, you know, and I mean, the kids are kind of the driving force of, because this is actually the best for them. And then, and obviously like his business is now wrapped up in her. But anyway, I think that I think if we're going to go with the premise of the movie, I think those are the things. So what do you think happens to these crazy kids later?
Well, hold on. You said him. Did you say her?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
She falls when she sees him with the fertilizer.
With the fertilizer, yes.
Or like, you know, working at this place.
Sorry, I was thinking.
Which is like a really humiliating, like the scene they show is like a humiliating job. It's like, oh, you get to carve out the fish guts next.
Or, well, yeah. If we're lucky, we'll let you wash the truck.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a humiliating job, not just a like.
It's not that it is in general, but they're really laying it on thick.
Yeah, like I mean, they make it
for the premise.
Yeah, I'm not saying that working in a fertilizer plant is. It's just like the way they make make it seem.
with the jackass supervisor.
Yeah,
and it's also like 2:00 in the morning or whatever.
Exactly,
or 10:00 at night, whatever.
And he still has a date. Like he's trying to do carpentry
and the regular stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. So okay. So with what you said, I mean, young me wants these crazy kids in this family unit to be, you know, the absolute and the happily ever after, because they find out that there's all this. She's the one with all the money, and so they tell the kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're already making out their Christmas list. How do you spell Porsche?"
Yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, and it's really sweet because you think, you know, one of the comments in the beginning is that her husband Grant, it is Grant, right? Yeah, wants to have a baby. I don't know why her husband wanted to have a baby.
You literally never see them in the same room.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but and her whole thing was just like, how do I get out of this? You know, she's talking to her mom about it, which is kind of weird because her mom managed to. So it's either one of two things. You know, she's like, honey, if you have a baby, you won't be the baby, and it's like, ew, this is really creepy. But at the end of it, you know, he realizes that she has all this money. What can he possibly provide for her? And, you know, her line is the little girl. And that's really sweet. And of course I get all like, oh my God, the family and the thing. And she's grown and she wants to have something that, you know, she didn't want before, but now she realizes that she does. And it's because it's something that's a family and something that's part of it. So in my head, I'm just like, I want them to be together because I want that happiness of my younger self who enjoyed this couple together to maintain that. But reconciling that with my older self and what you just said about how much more interesting would this have been if she had turned the tables on him.
If they both basically became, you know, the gaslighting later.
Well, here's how we're going to make that happen, Polina.
Okay, how are you going to make
What's going to happen is that they're going to be together for a while. They're going to get married, and then she is going to use her wealth to get full custody of everything he owns, including the family.
Oh.
So she's going to basically like kind of put him in this really difficult position for a little while. And then she's going to like kind of torture him at the same span of time that he did for her.
Oh, wow.
And then it'll be over and then they'll be happy together.
Oh, they're going to be... wait, but she's taking...
No, she's going to fuck with him for a couple months.
Oh, she's going to pretend she's going to do it.
No, she's going to actually like do all this shit.
And then they're going to be together?
She's going to have the financial resources to gaslight him for a little while.
All right, but then she's not going to take the kids away.
No.
Okay.
No, she's not going to.
Okay, God, now mine is like very sunny and rosy.
Yeah, I know, it's funny.
It is funny. Wait, talk more. How she... So... Yeah.
You know, I didn't think it all the way through, but you were talking about gaslighting. You thought that would be interesting. I'm not going to claim to be a romantic comedy writer nor a author, period. I'm just going to say, oh, you want gaslighting? We'll do that for a little while. She's got money. What do wealthy people do? They use their financial resources to get what they want through the legal system.
Okay. So...
Oh my God, she can also take custody of that investment that he just did.
Yeah.
Yeah. She can claim ownership of it.
Yeah,
She
maybe.
could buy it out, actually.
She might.
And keep it closed. Of course, she'd be, like, screwing her own resources.
No, so what? I mean, she's got money.
But
she's wasting money
as
already.
long as it's hurting him.
Yeah.
This has gone really dark. I don't know if I want to keep going.
Okay.
But I'm maintaining.
Stop. Okay. No.
The point is that eventually it will cause them to grow together. He will learn a valuable lesson about what they did, despite the fact.
Don't gaslight people.
Well, I mean, we'll also. Okay, fine. I'll make it a little bit better.
No, you don't have to.
No, it'll make it a little bit better. This is also meant as a driving lesson point for the kids. What happened isn't good. Isn't what your father did is not very good. And what I'm doing right now is hopefully going to help you boys learn a lesson in how you need to respect the human beings, the women in your life. People are
Bodily autonomy.
People are not your property. Now, excuse me while I go try to drain my finances to ruin your father. Mm-hmm.
God, I feel kind of like, I feel like I got Stockholm Syndrome from this movie. So, okay, this is what I think happens. I think that, they do find each other. I think that they... so I think that basically they go back, and
they go back to the house.
Yeah. And they, there's a bit, so I think that her mother is basically rightly is going to be like, I think there's something like emotionally wrong with you because or mentally wrong with you. Like this whole thing has messed with your mind in a completely different way. So she's gonna...
It's true, but unfortunately her mom is also like, where's the debutante that I raised? So it's half and half.
Yeah, no, but basically she, like, rightly, if you said, I am going to stay married to a man who, to get back at me, pretended that we were married and made me basically, do all these things. That's how she's going to see it. Okay. Is basically tortured her, made her like, sleep in on, a wet couch. And basically she has some sort of crazy Patty Hearst era Stockholm Syndrome. She's basically going to try to sue for all the money.
Oh, her mom.
Like, her mother is basically going to, like, try to get her back try to freeze the money, thinking that he's going to let...
when is this going to turn sunny?
Wait, just give me time.
Okay.
Basically, this will make him leave her because, there's no money. She doesn't have any money, and that's what she thinks he's after, the mom. What's going to happen is basically it's going to stress Annie / Joanna out so much that Dean is going to go to his mother and go, you know what? I do not want this money. I only want her. And mom's going to realize, like, she's like, what can we do to repair the relationship? I want her to have a good relationship with you. And that's going to make her realize, this is someone who actually does love my daughter. Now, at that point, I think, she's still going to be careful. So it's not like she's got access, except for the Switzerland thing, which I think will be legitimately hers. What's going to happen is they are actually going to stay together. Okay. And...
for the record, they stay together.
Yeah, yeah. So what's going to happen is that they will take, she's going to realize, like, basically I've been being rich all wrong. Like, I'm not this is like, it's not fun. I'm not having fun, but building, like, their kind of happiest things is when they built that, one of the miniature golf course as a family. And she's like, wait, I have all this money. I think they're going to fix up the house. But I think that they're essentially, that's going to be like the family business, is they're going to start making all of these, golf courses all over the world. And one of the sons is like, loves making these Rube Goldberg machines. Oh, yeah. So, like, he's going to be a place. She loves making these. And it's going to be this thing. And they're going to travel like around the country. And then they're actually going to go to France and introduce miniature golf to France. And what they're going to do is she's going to start a foundation where basically she's going to like go to different schools and help kids make these little like miniature golf as a way to teach like physics and science and kind of give them experiences that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Are you sure France doesn't already have miniature golf?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, this movie is bonkers in this. So I'm trying to live within this world. I am sure there is some sort of miniature golf in France.
In the Overboard cinematic universe, they do not.
Overboard cinematic universe, yes, they do not. I did go to a miniature golf course in New Zealand, but I've just realized I've never been to a miniature golf course in any other country. So maybe they don't.
Well,
But I don't know. They probably do.
If any of our listeners have done miniature golf in a country that is not France, New Zealand or the United States of America, please let us know.
Oh, in Canada.
Oh, so you have done miniature
golf.
Miniature golf in Canada. Okay.
When I was a kid.
So back to what I was saying. If you have played miniature golf in...
How about France? Yes.
No,
any other country.
Not specifically France. Like if not the United States, not Canada, not New Zealand. Please let us know.
Yeah. I'm super curious.
There it is.
Yeah, I don't want to use the computer to find this stuff out. I want to find this out organically. So I think that they they formed a unit. I think that he is going to spend a lot of his now suddenly free time making this up to her. Mm-hmm. And it's not by buying her things. I think it's by trying to take care of, like we were talking about love languages earlier, but I think like there's going to be a lot of acts of service.
Okay. So taking the whole brand new washing machine and multiplying it by 1,000.
Yeah, I would love a new washing machine. He's going to build her the really perfect closet.
Oh,
he's going to
and they're going to do it in it.
Yeah, totally. Because they're going to do it everywhere.
Because never mind.
Yeah, they tell you to do it. Yeah,
every time. Yeah, we used to do it in the closet.
Mm-hmm. It was a really small closet. It seems uncomfortable.
Well, no, they just moved there recently. He's referring to their old closet.
True. Yes, that's true.
Because he wasn't caught up in a lie or anything.
Yeah, no.
Alrighty.
There we go.
That was Overboard.
Oh,
wow. I mean, I think at this point...
I'm going to watch First Wives Club as a palate cleanser.
Oh, I was about to say.
She's genius.
Well, I think I can't take a palate cleanser right now, Polina. Instead, I'm going to look for an aroma cleanser.
Oh, that's much more efficient.
Yeah, I know. And
how does one do that?
I think that our listeners should be interested that we happen to be sponsored by an amazing company called Frankie and Myrrh.
Oh,
and you can go to frankieandmyrrh.com. That's FrankieandMyrrh. Mm-hmm. Yes, because myrrh, that's a tricky one. Mm-hmm. Yes, and what's really great is that
easy to misspell.
They have all of these aromatherapy products. We have been talking about, some of the more recent ones we have. I'm a fan of Fight the Foot Funk. Yeah, we were actually doing a little online shopping before we got recording today. I think we have a list going, but still to be fully determined after this episode because we just keep going back and forth between. We're trying to figure out how to maximize the wonderfulness of it. Yeah. So
kind of dole it out slowly. So
what you need to know is that if you go to frankieandmyrrh.com and you use the promo code happily, you'll get 20% off your purchase. All orders, you don't even have to use the code for it. Over $35, get free domestic shipping.
Yes. And when it ships, it comes with all this really fun stuff.
Polina's in love with the packaging.
Oh, I love packaging.
She loves
a packaging person.
Yeah, so it's delightful, as she had said before.
Also, I really love that they tell you what effect they'll have on you, but it's very fun and realistic and
like when that one that says Serenity Now !
Yeah, exactly. Serenity Now! Like 3 times. I love their approach.
It's really great. So thank you so much because when you make a purchase using our code, you support the show. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And bring you more show.
And thank you, Frankie and Myrrh. All right, so in all seriousness, that miniature golf question, we would like to know if you have ever done miniature golf in a outside in non-US, Canada, and New Zealand's. Please let us know about your miniature golf experiences. Yeah, you can do that.
We would love that.
On Twitter at HEAMCast.
HEAMCAST.
Yeah, we're also on Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath. And then you can email us, contact@heamcast.com. Huge shout out to the Lady Pod Squad.
Best.
We appreciate them because, they make me smile with their shows. We talk to them all the time on social media. Check out #Lady Pod Squad. You'll find some great shows.
Yeah. And for anything you're interested in, there's some great stuff.
Always. Wonderful. All right. Next time.
Yeah. Next time we're going to do Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which...
Now this is 1958.
Yes. Oh, thank you for writing that down. I was just really... But this is the Paul Newman, Elizabeth Taylor version. So that'll be fun.
Yep.
And I think it's available on Netflix right now and probably leave sometime in October. So
are we going to
do it fast?
Oh, okay. So will it still be there when we're releasing that episode?
I don't know.
Okay. So then...
We'll watch it before so that you're ready for the episode.
There it is. Cool. All right. So Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, 1958. That's next time.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Or for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.